Welcome back. You're still watching Trends. So from the Oscar-nominated I Am Not Your Negro to Sundance winner Winnie and Nick Broomfield's brutally, excuse me, a realistic depiction of Whitney Houston's life. Whitney, Can I Be Me? These are just some of the most talked about documentaries on the international and South African circus to be screened at the prestigious and much anticipated Encounter South African International Documentary Film Festival this coming month. Now the lineup consists of over 60 acclaimed films, and it takes place from the 1st to the 11th of June at Cinema Nouveau at the V&A Waterfront and Bertha Movie House, Isivivana Centre in Khayelitsha in Cape Town, and the Bioscope and Cinema Nouveau out here in Rosebank, Johannesburg. I'm now in studio with two directors who'll be showcasing their films at the festival. Thank you so very much, Sfiso Kanyile and also Davison. Welcome to Trends.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Davison, let me start with you. Now, you are the director of a film called Troupes of War. Take us into what this is all about.
So, Troupes of War is an exciting project that looks or taps into the historical memory of the country. We went back into the narrative of the World War I after realizing that the war has been told from the Western lens, and wanted to tell the story of the participation of black South African soldiers in World War I, which is one of the narratives that we hadn't had much through time and history.
Very true.
So we thought we would bring this narrative, show the mirror to the people that this is the participation of black soldiers in World War I, and through the journey of Lucas Ledwaba, who is my co-director and also who is in search for the truth on what really happened during World War I in terms of how black soldiers were treated. We got to learn about a very wretched past and an unfair past of black soldiers and how they contributed to a war that was not theirs.
Oh my gosh.
A war that was initiated by their colonizers, and they were forced to go and participate in this war in France and Germany. And when they were overseas, they were treated badly. They were treated as subhumans and doing menial work such as digging trenches, cooking, and making fences, and basically being dehumanized. And this is a narrative that we thought is crucial to bring back so that we preserve this memory to the people, and it's an important body of knowledge for the country. Yeah,
very, very true. Thank you so very much for that. As you say, I mean, it must have been a whole lot of research that went into this, and you rightfully say, you know, not many books and even, you know, historians tap into the fact that, you know, our people have been there as well in these historic wars, and their role, you know, has been neglected. I want to talk to you now, Sfiso. You have a film called Uprise. It's about the Soweto uprisings of 1976.
Yes, Refilwe. So we were also, you know, we're funded by the NFVF last year to produce a film about the 76 uprising. And initially we also just wanted to take an in-depth look at what happened, the events sort of leading up to the uprising on June 16. And because we felt that, you know, there wasn't much detail as to how history treats the events, we felt that, you know, when we think of June 16, we only think of the image Yaga Hector Peterson, where there's not much detail about who the student leaders were, people like Teti Mashinini and Khotso Siatlulu. So we really wanted to kind of bring those details to the fore and let South Africans mainly and international audiences know as to how those events came about.
Interesting, you know, that it is Africa Month. We are, of course, looking and celebrating, you know, how far we've come as a people, as a continent, and yet, young as both of you are as filmmakers, it's important to you guys still to look back and go back and say, wait, but there's still more that people don't know, and that's what we are going to be passionate about. Talk to me, you know, Davison, regarding young filmmakers who maybe tend to think, you know what, we've heard the history, you know, it just pulls us down, it makes us, you know, reflect on how, you know, the past and the iniquities that existed have, you know, favored some and favored others, and so let's move away from that. Let's do the rom-coms, let's do love stories. But you are focused on, let's go back. Why is that important for you?
I think it's always important, I think, from an individual level to ensure that you do some retrospect on what happened to your own life, or why is your life what it is because of the past. And we have learned this from other sources. And I always talk to my colleagues that what makes Africa what it is not because we don't know what we are doing, or it's not because we're not civilized, but it's because we have a history that was disrupted. Our way of life was disrupted, and the people that disrupted our lives are telling their own stories from their own perspective. And we're not doing that. If you're not doing that, we won't know where we're going because we don't know our past. So we haven't done enough. And we've had debates with my colleagues about we have told enough apartheid stories. We have told enough stories. They're not even told. If you are to look at how America does or how Europe does, every year they release something spectacular about their own history or from their own perspective about the history of Africa. So we should do more. I think there should be more investment from broadcasters, funding agencies, and filmmakers to be inspired to tell historical issues that affected Africans so that we know why our lives are what they are because of the past.
Awesome. And for you, Sfiso, you know, where to from here? And in terms of what else are you passionate about telling through your art as a filmmaker?
I think, just as you mentioned earlier on, that there's an importance to tell our own stories and also just to tell them from our own perspective. And I also have a particular interest in historical stories, but also just, I feel like the South African film industry hasn't tapped enough into our literature. You know, I think there's a wealth of stories there. You know, a lot of them short stories and novels that still hasn't been adapted into feature films.
And, very true, that many of us did in primary and high school growing up.
And I actually would like to challenge South African filmmakers to kind of sort of go back into history and into our literature and see what's available and, you know, make films based on those stories because they say something particular about our humanity as South Africans.
Awesome. Thank you so very much, Sfiso Kanyile, Director of Uprise, and also Davison Mudzingwa. The Encounters Film Festival starts from the 1st to the 11th. People can go online. Do you know the social media and everything where they can get information?
Yeah, they can go online and check the Encounters page as well.
Okay,
or individual pages of
the cinema houses
of the cinema houses, yes. And they also can, you know, also check the films that are screening and follow the pages.
Do you guys know when your films are screening?
I do, yes.
Okay.
So my film is screening in Johannesburg on the 2nd of June at the Bioscope in Maboneng at 8:15.
All right.
And in Cape Town at the Labia Theatre on the 9th of June at 8:15, and on the next day in Kailicha at the Bertha Movie House at 10 a.m.
All right, will there be dialogues after this? Because one thing about film festivals that, you know, is always a great thing afterwards is to engage with the filmmakers, some of, you know, industry people, to just say, to break down and maybe just go into other avenues of the film that people might not have noticed in the film. Yes,
so we have a Q&A session after each screening. So for all screenings, there'll be a Q&A sessions, and there'll also be a masterclass on Uprise.
Oh, awesome.
On the 3rd of June at the Kote Institute in Parktown.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so very much. Like I said, Davison Mudzingwa, Director of Troupes of War. Very, very interesting story. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, and now in studio we have a musical performance that should really blow your mind. I have Music Capella in studio. Guys, take it away.